After losing a chance to reclaim the lightweight title against Islam Makhachev at UFC 280, did you know Charles Oliveira actually turned down an immediate rematch at 283 in Brazil? His coach Diego Lima said he was going through emotional stress and wanted to spend some time away from the sport. And as for Islam, some people still think he needs to earn his pound-for-pound ranking. Stay tuned for more on both stories. First up, an immediate rematch. We're not gonna lie, the battle for the lightweight title at UFC 280 didn't really live up to our expectations. We were hoping for a bloody battle between the two fighters, but it all ended when Oliveira got choked out in the second round of the fight. And we're not sure if you noticed, but Charles didn't really look like himself that night. It almost felt as if he was a bit unprepared or distracted. But yeah, we're not trying to take anything away from Islam since he scored a convincing submission victory over the former champion to take home the lightweight title. Just a few days after the fight, the promotion actually reached out to the Brazilians team and offered them an immediate rematch against Makhachev scheduled for UFC 283 in Brazil. Before we tell you why he turned it down, we just want to get one thing out of the way. If there's a fighter in the UFC who deserves an immediate rematch, it has to be Charles. He absolutely dominated an entire division for so long, having fought the top-ranked guys. But why weren't Oliveira and his team interested in the fight? Well, his coach Diego Lima says his fighter was going through what's called emotional stress. He wasn't physically injured or anything of that sort, but just really drained out, you know? The former champion wanted to spend some time away from the game, and considering how hard he worked to climb to the top in the past couple of years, his team wanted him to have a well-deserved vacation. Next, being at the top is stressful. Oliveira's coach got real and laid down some harsh facts about how fighters tend to change as soon as they become champions. When a fighter's hungry for success and badly wants the belt around his waist, not even 3 fights in a year are enough. They want to climb the rankings and get a shot at the title, and for that to happen, they're willing to step inside the cage and fight as many times as required. But as soon as they've won and the belt is around their waist, it all changes. They no longer want to fight and would much rather stay at the top and enjoy everything that comes with being a champion. Don't believe us? Just look at Aljamain Sterling. Sure, he works really hard to dominate an entire weight class, but he's actually going to hold up an entire division for 6 long months as he goes on a retreat. Champs normally hide, they want to fight once a year. That's word to word what Coach Diego said about UFC champions when it comes to his student. Things are much different. Charles doesn't hide or go on retreats and just goes berserk, luring in the top guys and shattering their dreams of becoming a champion. He's done it to every fighter in the top 5, and we imagine that must put a lot of stress on his body and mind. So when his coach says he's going through a lot of emotional stress right now, we totally believe him. What Charles has done in such little time is just unreal. Moving on, climbing the ladder all over again. We would not want to be Dana White right now. The boss probably thought Do Bronx would be up for the task, but after hearing about his plans to spend some time off, he had to give his fans what they wanted by setting up Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. Now, there's no denying that that's going to be a really high-voltage fight, but what about Charles in all of this? What does Dana have in mind? Is he going to make him climb the ladder all over again? You know, fight Dustin Poirier or Beneil Dariush? Or is he still entitled to an immediate rematch after Volka has had his go at trying to become a double champion? Or look at it this way, if Islam fails in defending his title against the Aussie, does Do Bronx still get a shot at gold? These are some critical decisions Uncle Dana will have to think about since they'll have a lot of impact on the divisional dynamics. Making a legendary fighter like Charles fight his way up isn't exactly fair considering how he has a much stronger resume than the current champion. But at the same time, putting him ahead of someone like Dariush isn't exactly fair either since he's done enough for a shot at whoever holds the title. It's a really tricky situation to be in, but for now, the fans are positive Do Bronx will rule the lightweight division again since his status as the people's champion stands even today. Following up, a premature rise. Javier Mendez, head coach at the American Kickboxing Academy, believes Islam's rise in the pound-for-pound rankings is actually a bit premature. And what makes that statement even more interesting is that while saying all that, he still believes that the Dagestani is the best fighter in the promotion right now. But his resume at the UFC doesn't really justify the rankings. In other words, Javier wants Islam to clear out the entire division like Oliveira, and only then will he deserve to be so far up in the rankings. We don't want to get into too much, but let's not forget, guys, apart from the Brazilian, Islam hasn't fought anyone. He hasn't danced around with hard hitters like Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, or Dustin Poirier. and beating Charles is a huge achievement, but being the second-ranked pound-for-pound fighter without a single title defense to his name is a bit unconvincing. Look, you know this just as much as I do. Islam went to number 2 spot pound-for-pound in the UFC in just one fight? How? We've never doubted the Dagestani's skills or fight IQ, even for a second, but skyrocketing to the top after just one fight is a bit weird, especially when you consider how Islam doesn't have too many fights against ranked opponents. So this brings us to the next question. What does the champ need to do to justify his ranking? Easy. Defend it against the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. The fight in Perth against featherweight king Alexander Volkanovski will be Makhachev's biggest challenge yet. Up next, he also got a little lucky. This might sound really controversial, but Islam sort of got lucky with the rankings. After beating the Brazilian at UFC 280, he actually shot up the number 3 spot. The only reason why he ended up at number 2 was that former middleweight champion Israel Adesanya lost his belt to the scary-looking Alex Pereira. Izzy slipped and Islam cashed in by moving up a spot right below his next opponent, Alexander Volkanovski. Call it luck or good timing, but things seem to be working in his favor right now. But still, that doesn't necessarily mean he's earned that spot. If one fight is all it takes to literally become the face of the promotion, then we could think of a ton of fighters who deserve to be at the top of the rankings. Mendez also talked about his next opponent and how he deserves to be at the number 1 spot since he's managed to destroy an entire division. Volka has been the champ for almost 3 years now and has defended his belt 4 times to become the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the promotion. Islam has been champion for less than 2 months and doesn't even have a single title defense, but is only 1 spot below him in the official rankings. Last but not least, not so fast. If there's anything we've learned so far, it's that Javier is a really hard man to convince. All this time, we've been thinking about Islam versus Alexander, but the coach wants to step things up a notch. Even if Makhachev defends his title against the Aussie, he'll have to face another fighter before his ranking is justified. Any guesses who that might be? The man, the myth, the legend, Beneil Dariush.
Yeah, there's the tap. Beneil Dariush gets it done.
He's been making waves at the UFC, winning fight after fight as he silently waits to dominate once he gets a shot at the title. The American-born Iranian fighter has even issued a warning to Dana White, saying he's been waiting for a really long time now, and sooner or later, he'll have to give him what he wants. Let's see, guys. We think Volka will be much more problematic for the Dagestani champion, but even if he's able to subdue him in Perth, he has another mean monster waiting for a swipe at the title. It's the high road from here on. Islam better get ready to be called out by the best of the best. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Will we ever see Oliveira as the lightweight champion again? And is Islam's P for P ranking justified? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.